they want to help Karen. They're trying to help her. And Jeff's like, you two insist on fucking touching her. I don't want to get sick. I don't want any of us getting sick. But you two fucking fuckers insist on touching her. And he's like, I'm not getting sick. No fucking way. And so he leaves, and Karen, or Marcy, gets all pissed off. And again, Karen's looking bad at this point, for good reason. And there's also a interesting scene where I think Marcy checks on Karen during the night, and, like, Karen kind of pokes her head out, and she's like, I'd hate for you to get sick. And, like, Karen just looks bad. I think this, and I'm not sure, but I think this virus messes with your mind a little bit, too. That's a key point here because, Henry wasn't acting like himself. He just kept coming when they had a gun and shit. It's like he wasn't using any kind of logic. So that's my understanding of the virus. Not that everybody reacts the same way, but I will tell you, Paul gets pretty damn violent later on from the virus. Sorry, spoiler warning, Paul does get the virus. Well, after Jeff runs off into the woods with a six-pack of beer, at least, which is the only reliable drink source, by the way, because you can't drink the fucking water, which they don't know this. Let me just say. Marcy yells at him, and he runs off, pissed off that he abandoned her. I think Marcy had drank the water earlier, so I think that's a key point, but I don't remember exactly. But it comes back. So, meanwhile, Bert drives to the convenience store that the group visited earlier, pleading for a doctor. Too bad you didn't need the racist store owner. And he's showing signs of infection, like he's looking real bad at this point. And so you got the young, retarded boy on the bench that runs over, and this kid does, like, all these kung fu moves, and he's like, pancakes, 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 and he bites Bert this time. And, he makes a face as soon as he bites into Bert, or after a second or so, and you can tell he's infected now, too. And his dad, same dude from earlier, who was like, boy, what would you want? Stealing a Snickers bar. He comes outside, and rather than helping Bert, he's like, now you're sick, that's your problem. But you made Dennis sick, that's my problem. So we got to end the problem. And, like, him and his redneck buddies are going to go chase after Bert and kill him. That's pretty much the plan here, because Bert's sick, he caused the problem for his boy. Typical redneck logic, I suppose. I just guess. Sorry if I'm upsetting our southern listeners. I am in Louisville, Kentucky, so I'm close enough to southern where I can make comments like that. And I'm sure I have an accent, too. So if you're listening and you think I have an accent, well, you're probably right. So Bert speeds off. The dad, or whatever the hell you want to call him, he grabs two of his redneck friends, Richard Boone and Tim Parati. That's who plays them. One of them looks like Philpott, Vic. I don't care what you say. He looks like Vic. And they kind of arm themselves with a rifle, and they go after Bert to kill him. Well, now you got them alone in the cabin. You got Paul and Marcy, and she's, like, just depressed on her bed. And, he's trying to make her feel better, but, she's like, we're all going to get sick. We're all going to die. And she's like, it's one of those situations where all you want to do is grab the person next to you and have sex with them because you know you're going to be dead soon anyway. And Paul's like, hell yeah. So they start having sex. And, Paul, he's worried that he's not wearing a condom. And Marcy's like, don't worry, I'm healthy. If that's the way it works, that's amazing. That's, that's the best protection you can have. Well, Marcy, I just have to say, I tip my hat to you, man. Serena Vincent, you are a goddess as far as these movies go. And literally, she would only show an inch of her ass in this movie. If she only get typecast as the naked chick because of not another teen movie. But we'll get there. We'll get there later. So after they finish having sex, Paul cracks me up. He's worried about whether Marcy has the disease or not. He goes into the bathroom, and he tries to disinfect his dick by pouring Listerine over it. And I have to tell you, I've done the same thing once upon a time. Anyway, while he's washing her, or while she's washing her face, Marcy discovers, and she's a little bit worried that she's got some red marks on her back where Paul was grabbing her. while they were fucking, which is pretty weird because, it's usually chicks that do this. But a little later, Paul tells Marcy he's going to bring back Jess so they can all get back to civilization. Marcy tells him to stay, but, Paul, he's uncomfortable around her after he sleeps with her. And he insists that, he's got to get out of the cabin, which I guess that's where the cabin fever line comes from. I didn't realize it's a cabin. That's pretty fucking obvious. But, it's not like they have cabin fever. They weren't in the cabin that long. So the words cabin fever don't really apply other than the fact that it's cabin and they have the fever of some sort or a virus. So Marcy's by herself now, and, she's in the bathtub. She's crying. She's shaving her legs. And this is one of the most fucked up parts in any movie. I think this is enough to make anybody kind of cringe, at least the first time you see it. Not so much me when I was watching it again, but it is pretty gross. So you got, the marks that Paul made on her back. They're starting to develop into like gruesome wounds on Karen's back. And Paul heads over to the local reservoir and notices a body floating in the lake. I don't know why he's in the lake. I have absolutely no idea. There's not much explanation for it. It is weird. It is random. Maybe there's an explanation and I just didn't catch it, but I don't get it. So he climbs down the ladder and he moves the body with a stick. I don't know why he's poking this dead body with a stick. He just felt like it. And he sees that it's the infected hermit. I didn't get that. I assumed it was, but I wasn't totally sure. It could have been anybody. And then the dog's ladder rots and gives way. And Paul falls into the water, the infected water. And I remember watching this at the theater. The water's infected. And I'm like, well, I guess nobody's going to fucking survive, because at this point everybody's sick except for Jeff. And nobody likes Jeff anyway. But Paul, he's not necessarily sick, but you see him spitting out water. And earlier the hermit got sick just because blood splattered in his face. And once it got into his mouth from the dog, I don't know how he got sick unless he ate the dog. It's weird, Like, there's no real explanation of how you can get sick other than ingesting it. It doesn't seem to be an airborne virus, but you don't know. Because Jeff's running around with a napkin on his face to make sure that he doesn't breathe it in, but you don't really know where it's coming from. So back at the cabin now, you got Marcy who's, shown shaving her legs in the bathtub, and this is fucking gross. She's, she's noticing that they're, her how do I describe it? You've got these scenes where she's like, and she's, stroking her leg with the razor, and just a big line of just skin and blood would come off, and it is disgusting. And you'd think that would be enough for her, but she continues on at least 2 more times until she finally freaks out and jumps up. I don't know if she just wasn't looking, but I thought she was. This skin, it's rotting off. It's nasty. It's bad. And, it's peeling off. And then she gets up, she runs outside upset, and she's attacked by what you would assume is a now infected Dr. Mambo. But Dr. Mambo looks exactly the same. In fact, this dog's so vicious that the scenes with Dr. Mambo in it, like the actors couldn't even be in or they're so scared of the dog. Like the wolves in what's the name of it? Frozen. Not Elsa and Anna. I'm talking about Adam Green's Frozen. Yeah, this dog was like vicious. It's like a German Shepherd, I believe. Like my German Shepherd. She's not really a German Shepherd. She just thinks she is, and she kind of looks like one. And she eats little dogs. That's what she does. But anyway, she knows I'm talking about her. So, Dr. Mambo. Dr. Mambo's been trying to get at Karen the whole time. He's locked in the shed, and, as they've been checking on Karen throughout the time, even though they claim that they're going to be, watching her, they don't. So Paul returns, and he finds Marcy's body. It's ripped to pieces. Dr. Mambo's eating like a dead Karen's face now. And, the dog tries to attack him too, but, Paul, he falls down. He shoots the dog, presumably in the face with Bert's rifle. So Dr. Mambo dead. Dr. Mambo is a bad motherfucker. In fact, Dr. Mambo is probably the most, possibly the greatest threat in this movie, more so than the virus, which I'll get to later, hopefully if I remember to. This wine's kicking my ass, believe it or not. So, Paul goes to check on Karen, whose skin is now almost, well, fuck. Okay, I guess Dr. Mambo kills Marcy, and, yeah, anyway, so Dr. Mambo was eating Karen's face, and now he checks on Karen, and her face is almost completely rotted off. She's barely alive. Like, you can see her skull. It is nasty. So to end her suffering, he clubs and impales her with a shovel, and then he just runs for help. This dude has lost his shit at this point. I mean, he's killed the dog at this point. He's killed Karen. He assisted in killing the bum. Paul's lost his shit. Is he infected? Well, you would assume so. I mean, because based on logical progression here, you would assume he is. But is that what's making him act nuts, or is it just the situation? A little bit of column A, we'll call him B, I'd say. So just then, Bert actually struggles back to the cabin with the rednecks in pursuit. And when Bert's pursuers open the door, Bert tries to shoot one of the men, but he's killed by a shotgun round. But Bert knew he was about to die. But it was a quicker death than get killed by the virus, one would assume. And, Paul comes out of nowhere. He kills one of them. He stabs one of the guys in the head with, he kills one guy, and then the guy, shoots the store owner, or shoots one of the other guys, Dennis's dad, and, and then he sticks a screwdriver in one of the guy's head. And after he runs out of the cabin, he finishes off the Dennis's dad. So Paul decides to go look for Jeff. And he goes and he checks the cave, thinking Jeff's inside, but he finds Grimm's dead body. Grimm's dead, and he's cut in half. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. I would assume Dr. Mambo killed him, but that raises a lot of questions for me. Number one, when did Dr. Mambo get sick? Two, why did Dr. Mambo not look sick? Three, well, I guess there is no three. But I don't know, it's odd. It's really odd. I don't know. But so if Dr. Mambo's sick, did he kill his owner because he's sick? I mean, is it fucking with his brain too? I mean, that's the only logical conclusion I can come, to with this. It's like a form of rabies plus skin disease. I mean, because these people are acting different. In some cases, not so much. Like Marcy didn't act any different. I mean, she's still a slut. Karen was still the same, except depressed. I mean, because she was dying. Bert was still Bert. Paul, he got more vicious. So, I mean, it's hard to say. This is where it gets weird for me. So this movie is more about, and I think this is intentional, this is more about the way people act, like Night of the Living Dead, than it is about the virus. By the way, let me go back to something real quick. There was another homage in this movie that I noticed as well. And, of course, there's the Evil Dead homage, kids in the woods in a cabin, blah, blah, blah. But the other homage that I noticed was when Karen is walking up to the house after she gets out of the canoe, you get this camera shot like the one of Terry McMinn. By the way, go back to our Texas Chainsaw Massacre archives at travisandvicor.wordpress.com. We have an interview with Terry McMinn and John Dugan. It's fucking awesome. Terry McMinn's awesome. Anyway, Terry McMinn from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, red shorts. The famous scene where she's walking up to the house and the camera's right on her ass. It's just the same way for Serena Vincent here. So obviously Eli Roth had a love for movies like that. So where the hell are we now? So Paul runs back to Bert's, the people that are after Bert's, after Bert earlier, and he takes their car. Along the way, why not? He slams head on into a deer, which is funny because the deer, he hits it and it goes flying up the car like sideways, but it's like facing the car. And it's a strange thing to notice that you'd only notice like after you've seen the movie 12 times in a row, or 12 times over the last 2 days. But like the deer's, legs and hoofs are sticking through the windshield. So basically, let's shut down this car for now. And, he gets back out on foot, and, he sees a roadside party thrown by some local teens. And who do we see? Winston, which is just awesome. So, Winston, he asks Paul about the tow truck, and he's like, oh, man, what happened was we had a tow truck, and it broke down, and we had to get